Oh, man, last night it was nuts. Let him die. Geoff Holtzman with the Talk Radio News Service was on the site, on the scene in Tampa, talkradionews.com, of course. And Jeff's Twitter is Geoff, Geoff, Holtzman, Holtzman 1. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tom, good to be with you.
Great to have you back with us. I'm curious. You know, this Ron Paul. Let me just play the clip here. This is Ron Paul.
A healthy 30-year-old young man has a good job, makes a good living, but decides, you know what, I'm not going to spend $200 or $300 a month for health insurance because I'm healthy, I don't need it. But, you know, something terrible happens, all of a sudden he needs it. Who's going to pay for if he goes into a coma, for example? Who pays for that?
In a society that you accept welfareism and socialism, he expects the government to take care of it.
What do you want?
But what he should do is whatever he wants to do and assume responsibility for himself. My advice to him would have a major medical policy, but not before.
But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have it, and he needs intensive care for 6 months. Who pays?
That's what freedom is all about, taking your own risk. This whole idea that you have to prepare and take care of everybody.
But Congressman, are you saying the society should just let him die?
No.
And at that point, the audience starts yelling, yes. Did I hear that right? Is that an accurate reflection of the perspective?
I think you did, Tom. I think you did. And that's sure the way that sounded to me. I'm really at a loss for words to sort of analyze that response to that question and what it means. But I think it's view that Ron Paul, you know, he's got a lot of ideas on a lot of different issues, but I think at the end of the day, that's why he's not a viable candidate to win the nomination. Now, it's interesting, though, because he does poll fairly well in these polls that come out.
Sure.
In fact, the last poll that I found, the CNN ORC poll, he was in the top 5.
Yeah.
So he's obviously got a large...
Oh, he's number 2 in the Iowa straw poll, although Fox News refused to name his name for an hour and a half. It's like they're deciding who's won. The Media Matters this morning has a really interesting piece about how all the Fox talking heads this morning have been talking about how Romney won the debate, and they're quoting other news sources as saying that. And yet, many of the people there didn't think that at all. What was your sense of you were there. What was your sense of the Tea Party crowd and their thinking on who won the debate?
Well, first of all, I hate this whole win or lose thing at these debates. I mean, I think.
But at the end of the day, this is about winning the nomination to be president of the United States. So there is a piece of that, isn't there?
That's true. I mean, the way I look at it is this: I talked to a number of voters, self-described Tea Party voters, yesterday who sounded skeptical about Rick Perry. To be honest with you, I talked to one gentleman from Orlando who told me that he believes that the hype around Rick Perry is simply a creation of the media, and that he needs to see more. And based on what Rick Perry did last night, I think the jury has to still be out for a lot of these folks. I mean, he got attacked pretty viciously from all sides. Some of the lesser-tiered candidates, according to the polls, you know, Michelle Bachmann, Mr. Paul himself, and Rick Santorum went after Perry pretty hard, and I thought deservedly so, on, for instance, the HPV vaccine that he signed into law. I think that personally, I think that's a no-brainer. But, you know, Congresswoman Bachwoman came at from the standpoint of, you know, that's not limited government. That's government interference in people's health care decisions.
Right, which is kind of a variation on the don't put fluoride in the water, and I'm actually ambivalent about that one. We're talking with Geoff Holtzman, a reporter with the Talk Radio News Service, talkradionews.com. Jeff, I want to get back to Ron Paul. The libertarian logic behind this is that if somebody doesn't make decisions about themselves and take care of themselves and plan for their own contingencies, then they do deserve to die. And that argument was made when back in the 60s, when as I recall, it was in my lifetime, when there was a huge debate about whether or not people should be required to have car insurance. And the Republican position or the conservative position was no. You know, if people shouldn't have to have car insurance. I mean, you know, but the problem was, what happens if I'm uninsured and I hit your car and, you know, you have a claim against me, but I got no money and I'm uninsured. And so that's where this whole liability insurance came from. And that was the first requirement. That was the first step in requiring car insurance. And then, of course, the insurance lobby got in and said, oh, well, let's require even more than that. Although in some states it is just liability insurance. Isn't there, with regard to health care, an analogy here? I mean, if we want to believe Ron Paul's position that everybody should simply make their own decisions, and if somebody is 30 years old and thinks he's going to live forever, decides not to get health care, but he has active tuberculosis and he can't figure out why he's coughing and he's creating an epidemic, isn't that the same thing as his car running into my car?
Well, Tom, I mean, he probably should have thought of that before he got tuberculosis, don't you think?
Okay, so that would be the Ron Paul position.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm being facetious, but yeah, I mean, I think that's where Congressman Paul is coming from, and you know, I mean, make of it what you will. That's kind of what he's all about. It's this extreme libertarian position where, you know, it's all about personal responsibility in every single aspect of life, and it's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I haven't seen that to that extent from the other candidates so far. I mean, obviously you have Congresswoman Bachmann who's saying, you know, she's going to do everything she can to repeal the health care law. She hasn't been asked, you know, what are you going to do instead of the health care law? Are you going to replace it with something of your own, or are you just going to repeal it and then leave it?
Right.
That hasn't been asked. I'd like to hear that asked. In terms of the other candidates, I mean, we know Mitt Romney has already passed a health care law with an individual mandate in it. So I think that he would stand on the opposite end from Ron Paul.
Sure. Yeah, they are the polar opposites. I'm fascinated by this dynamic of Roger Ailes being the Republican kingmaker and Fox News being the portal through which all Republican candidates over the last decade have had to pass, and probably Ronald Reagan wouldn't have made it through. But the idea that it appears that the Republican establishment, the Wall Street Republican establishment, that pretty much the Republican Party doesn't want anybody to know exists. You know, they want everybody to look at the Tea Party while the Wall Street Party is really running the Republican Party, has decided that Mitt Romney's their guy, and Fox News is going all out for Mitt Romney as their guy. Is the grassroots talking about that in those terms, or am I just seeing that in the progressive blogs?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's something that's really bothering folks in the Tea Party, at least in places that I've gone to outside the Beltway, you know, down here in Florida and, of course, in Iowa and New Hampshire. That's something that they're not really fond of, is the fact that they're sort of getting their candidate dictated to them, you know, by the big media, by big business. And they want to put an end to it. I just don't know if they're going to be able to succeed, because right now, you know, in conversations that I've had with Tea Party voters, they don't really have a clear-cut favorite. And I think that in order for them to actually have a viable shot at pushing their agenda, they have to have, you know, a clear-cut candidate who is going to have a shot at the nomination. You can talk about Michelle Bachmann, you know, you can talk about a guy like Herman Cain, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're just going to. I don't think
they want to beat Obama.
I'm sorry?
At the end of the day, they want to beat Obama.
They want to beat Obama, but at the same time, they're worried that, you know, say if a guy like Mitt Romney wins, he's not going to represent their full interests.
But what if Marco Rubio was his VP?
That's true, although I haven't heard a lot of buzz about that this weekend. I was frankly kind of surprised. A lot of folks, you know, it's kind of debatable whether he needs more time in office and needs to build himself more of a national profile. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they said that about Barack Obama, and he won the presidency. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't think the GOP has a Barack Obama, though, yet.
Well, I would put my money on Marco Rubio as the VP candidate. I think, but we'll see. I mean, time will play out, and I bet anything that Romney's going to be the candidate. He's got so much money and so much power, and now obviously Fox. You know, Sarah Palin is supporting him, you know, by attacking Perry. Karl Rove. I mean, the whole institution. Geoff Holtzman with the Talk Radio News Service, TalkRadioNews.com. Thank you, Geoff.
Thanks, Tom.